Welcome to the Unicorn Millionaire Podcast, where we celebrate financial empowerment and pride all year long. I'm your host, Charly Stover, a non-binary Latinx money coach who's traveled solo to over 34 countries while helping my first-gen LGBTQIA+ and BIPOC community invest in the stock market and themselves. From my journey as a formerly undocumented Mexican American to diving into the world of finance as a stockbroker, I've learned firsthand the importance of financial independence and how you can be anti-capitalist while investing. I said what I said. Through my podcast, I share empowering stories and drop gems on gems, from how to be a Roth IRA freak to buying your first home. I started this podcast because I didn't see anybody like me talking about how to take advantage of capitalism. Whether you're tuning in for financial wisdom, wellness tips, or just to hear about my travels, I keep it real, fabulous, and magical. Subscribe to the Unicorn Millionaire Podcast and leave me a 5-star review. We're here, we're queer, and we're building wealth juntos, juntas, y juntes. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, how's it going? Today's episode features my client, Michelle, a first-gen eldest Latina daughter who built 6 figures in wealth before 30 freaking years old. While managing a chronic illness like myself, she moved out of state for her health and to boost her finances, all while staying rooted in her cultura. When we started working together, she was great at savings, but stuck on how to grow her money. Because you can't just save or budget your way to retirement. You gotta invest it and understand what you're investing in, because that can make or break your retirement, y'all. When we first started working together, she also felt pressure to buy a house, even though what she really wanted was the freedom to travel. In just a few sessions, we centralized her finances, maxed out her retirement accounts, and built a plan that gave her clarity, confidence, and flexibility. So much so that when she was recently on the Amalfi Coast in Italy, she was treating her sisters to drinks on the beach, knowing her investments were growing while she was chilling and enjoying the stunning view. So if you want support getting on track to making $30K plus a year in passive income through savings and investments, book a call at the link in the show notes to start 6-month private coaching with me. At the time of this recording, coaching is $6K for 6 months. It includes bi-weekly coaching calls with me, daily messaging support, and exclusive access to my full money coaching curriculum that only my clients get. It has lessons on savings, investing, credit cards, mindset, and diversifying income streams through a business. So the link to book a call to chat with me about 6-month coaching is in the show notes. And I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. It is thebomb.com. So pumped. All right. Enjoy Michelle's story. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the Unicorn Millionaire Podcast. How are you?
Hi, Charly. I'm doing great. How about you? This is amazing being here. Thanks for inviting me and being on your show. Yes.
Yeah, super excited to get down to business, to talk about money and wealth building and both of our trips to Italy.
Yes.
Kids, we got shit to talk about and to say.
We really do. It's like chisme time, financial time, and everything time right now.
You know that chisme is good when I'm working on a Saturday.
That's right.
All right. So I want to introduce today's guest. This is Michelle Sanchez. She was my money coaching client, and she's a first-gen eldest daughter, sharing health and wellness tips while working towards financial freedom and healing and living with a chronic illness. That's what's up. And you can find her on IG at Health to Wealth con Michelle.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction.
Claro.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right. So let's take it back to, I believe it was like August. Yeah, when I met you and everything. And then we started working together. Yes. It was a long ass time ago. I was like, wait, Okay, boom.
Tell me why I'm just reflecting, and it's like, it's almost been a year ago. Dang. You're right. It has been August.
Yeah. So why did you how did you find me? Why did you want to work with me? Where were you at before we got started?
Yeah, so I'm like trying to track back. I think I met you through another money coach here. So I actually moved up to Washington maybe almost 3 years ago, and it was through Instagram. And I think one of your other friends was like, "Hey, I'm having a one money coach coming from Mexico," and I was like, "Oh, cool." And one thing about me, I love podcasts, and I think I owe it to financial podcast for a lot of my knowledge and my growth within my personal finance and education and personal finance. And so I was like, okay, one thing I love is just discovering new podcasts. And so I was just like, okay, who's like this like money coach friend? Okay, cool. And so um, one thing about me, I was like, you know what? I was a little bit more scared maybe years ago, and I was like, I'm just gonna reach out. I think I played one of your podcast episodes, and I was like, this is like, okay, it was like, okay, we're having a Latinx, okay, and I was like, I live for this, like I love this, like I love cheering people on, and so I was listening to your podcast, and then there was a podcast that you mentioned, I think you were in Puerto Vallarta, is that right?
Yeah.
Living there, okay, and then you were talking about chronic illness, and I was like, okay, talking about money and chronic illness. So I personally have I live with a chronic illness, and so that to me, it was, I think that also like makes a difference for me. Well, first I was like, okay, I can enjoy this. Like this podcast is definitely like I can relate to it 100%. Um, being a first gen and the eldest daughter and like daughters of immigrants, and I was like, yes, like I found my people. And so I think the chronic illness is just you talking about it. I was like, you know what, it you can mix a little bit of both, and that's who I am in my daily life. It's like I love talking about finances, but on my daily life, I'm also always really taking care of my chronic illness, and that's a big part also of my whys, of my decisions, of my financial decisions, also kind of have to go hand in hand with my personal like chronic illness and my personal health. And so I think that's one of the reasons I I chose you as my money coach. Of course, we the interview, but I also reached out. I was like, hey, I just listened to your podcast. I think I messaged you, and it ended up being that your other friend on financial coach friend, we live pretty close to each other, which I also found her through another past podcast, which is Yo Quiero Dinero podcast. And so I've been finding all of you amazing people through Instagram and podcasts. So that's how I found you. And I decided it's like, hey, there's so many money coaches. And I think it's so important. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like there's the big pool of them, and there is Latinx out there, and there's Latinas, and I'm sure there's haven't really heard about much Latinos in Money Coach, but that was just a that's how I found you, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be my money coach, and just the energy is like I love the energy. It's always a trip with Charly. I love it.
Literally, a mushroom trip.
Yeah. And it has been you know, sessions of just growing knowledge, but also, a growing friendship too. Charlie comes back to Portland, and then we've gone out to the symphony together and had lunch, and it's always amazing. And we were pretty much almost chasing each other in Italy at this point. I was in Italy like a few weeks before it. Charlie was in Italy, and we're like, oh my God, like we're following each other.
Yeah, it's living
So
our
yeah,
best lives out there.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
we've tried two Thai places in
Oh, that's
Portland.
right.
Shout out to Eam. That one's better, not the other place that put scallions in the ice cream.
Yeah,
Never
we definitely
again.
have our Thai restaurant stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you talk about why you ended up, you're from the Bay Area. What made you want to move to kind of random Vancouver,
Like,
Washington?
yeah, exactly. That's funny. So yeah, I am from the Bay Area. I grew up in the Bay Area. It's like, yay, area. I'm always going to represent the Bay Area. It's such a big part of who I am. And I think all the cultural richness too and diversity. Um, like I grew up with that, and that's all like that's in my mind. That's all I know. But then Vancouver, it's funny because everyone before I moved, they're like, I'm moving to Vancouver. Everyone, of course, thinks Vancouver, Canada. And I didn't even know what Vancouver looked like. I had never been to Vancouver until the first day I came to Vancouver with my maletas. Um, but I decided to move to Vancouver for, I guess, health purposes and growth, but also it was an opportunity. My current work that I do, so I'm a design engineer. So I worked in the Bay Area, and then they have a small office here in Vancouver. So I ended up moving. I was thinking, okay, it's like Michelle, let's think about it. Like, are we looking into 5 years or 2 years? And one thing about the area, Bay Area, I love it, but to me, it was just very, very hectic. And also, as a first gen Latina, a single girl in the Bay Area, just thinking kind of in the future, I'm like, if I eventually want to move out of my parents' house, get a house, it's like almost nearly impossible to do it on my own. It's like the
Mhm.
chica cannot do it on her own in the Bay Area when like millionaires are in your backyard, you know. Um, and so really was just one. It was kind of financial option for me because I did all the financial research and apparently they don't have income tax in Washington. So that was I was like, oh, that's like I can boost my income that way, my wage by moving to a state. Like it just happened to be that the company that I work for was in Vancouver and Vancouver is in Washington. And so it kind of worked out that way. But those are things that I looked at and then I did a lot of financial planning beforehand of just kind of asking, making sure the wage, asking my managers like, hey, if I were to move, is the wage staying the same? Is my wage lowering down and negotiating that with them too. So of course, again, there was a lot of planning, which a lot of that planning and knowledge came from podcasts. And that's why I'm like, I owe it a lot to podcasts for just the free knowledge to be able to do that move financially and having set an emergency fund and coming to Vancouver with pretty much practically nothing. I came with like cuatro maletas for suitcases. That's all I brought from home. And really just looking for I was in my mid 20s and really looking to like, hey, if I really like Washington, which I've been before, it's a lovely place. I'm like, I can stay, but I can always go back home. And so it was more of a venture place, but also a place where I was able to take care of myself health wise too. There is Oregon's like right across the bridge for me, and so there's even the health community has been super great for healing my own illness here too. So it's been a little bit of everything, but definitely financial and health. And I think that's for health and wealth. Like it relates too much for me because they go hand in hand.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
overall,
And yeah, you're so smart for moving to Vancouver where there's no income tax, and then you're gonna just cross over to Portland where there's no sales tax. Boom, boom, boom.
exactly.
Super
Yeah.
smart.
It was the thing for me was like it was I didn't find those things until after like I knew about states that didn't have income tax, but it just happened that
Hmm.
my job had an office in Vancouver. And I think those are the things that are a little bit life changing. It's sometimes we do have the opportunities there, but we're mm, like I'm not gonna move to this kind of random town. Um, but I'm like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I think that that's the thing for me. I was like, I have nothing to lose. If anything goes bad, I can just go back home and work from California again. But it's been too good, and like Washington has treated me so well that I see myself staying here, and I've built so many great friendships and being part of community. So yeah, it has been a whole trip. It has not been easy being removed from family, but it has been worth it, definitely.
Yeah. Isn't that just crazy how a
It really is.
podcast helped you motivate
It's
yourself to move?
yeah.
Like it is wild just through listening to somebody talk on
Yeah.
Spotify. Your life can change. But I love what you said about how if it doesn't work out, I can always come back. If you have money, you can pivot. And when I met you, you were really good with money in terms of saving. You're excellent at having the savings and everything like that. But I remember you came to me because you knew deep down that you could make it work for you even more and that you didn't quite understand your investments. You were still stuck in your 401k and everything like that too. And I remember when you came to work with me, you were like, I don't know if I want to buy a house, which is very common, especially as the responsible eldest daughter. Like there's a lot of pressure to do the responsible thing. And our society manifests that in physical form of, oh, buying a house is the responsible thing. So can you
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about kind of like the things you came to me with, what your mindset with money was before working with me, and then like how we
Yeah.
quickly changed that?
Oh, it was like super quickly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will get into like the whole in sessions. That was crazy. That's insane, insanely good. But yeah, so one thing for me, I think just being the eldest daughter, always having to be responsible, and even kind of with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's a little triggering because it just takes me back to like I've always had to be responsible even as a little girl of immigrant parents because it's like if everything goes down, like I'm the one who's responsible for my siblings, and not only my siblings, I grew up really close to like mis primos, mis primas, all my cousins, and so I was kind of in that threshold of being the eldest. So finance, I was like really, really good at saving. And of course, since I was planning to move, I already had already like that 401k since I learned about it in podcasts. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my thing set up. So I think I had all the accounts and I think I had all the tools. And then I'm just like, now what?
Mhm.
And I think it's a space and it and maybe a lot can relate, like being a first gen and I'm just used to doing a lot of things on my own because there's a point where it's like you're going to college or getting into all these milestones that you can't really reach back to your support system, which my support system has always been my family. But there's a point where you can't go and ask, because all they can do is like, bueno, échale ganas. And so
Mhm.
there's a point where I'm like, I have all these things set up, all the tools, but that now what I do with them. And then also, like you said, I'm like, should I buy a house? That's something I also was having in mind when I moved to Washington. I was like, well, maybe I have a better opportunity to be a homeowner here in Washington than I did in California. But being by myself, not having that support with me, like in my proximity, that was definitely harder. But I think it was like now I have the tools. Where do I go? And especially looking into me 5 years is like where do I want to be in 5 years? Is a house that in the picture of the 5 years, and I think that's where I decided I'm not gonna lie. I was like, is it worth having a coach? Like, I think that's a question a lot of us, a lot of us might be in that position. It's like, what I do from here, I'm kind of stuck. But then also that decision of getting a coach or like, I'll figure it out by myself as I've always been. And I think that
Mhm.
also took therapy. Like, I've been in therapy for a year and a half now. But it's just like asking for help. It's so hard for first gens to ask for help. And it's like, we all you have to do sometimes is just ask. You just need to ask, and we're just so conditioned to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, it's time to stop just trying to figure everything out. There's people out there who want to help you, and I think the financial community out here right now is just they're just so loving and they really want to like see you thrive. I'm like, Charly has been a cheerleader for me through this process of really getting into the money. But yeah, so kind of getting into the session. So once I did decide, I was like, you know what? Well, one thing that helped it was I think my bonus came, and I was like, you know what? How can I spend this bonus I think that's what helped me be like, okay, yeah, I'll do the coaching. And I was like, I invested that bonus into the coaching, and I'm pretty sure I would got the return back at this point, with all the
Oh yeah, probably just in your high yield savings account,
yeah,
just in the cash.
even me swiping
Like,
that credit
let's be
card.
real.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
In a good
definitely.
way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I just remember, I think you were surprised at how much mindset work there was to do. And I remember just when I'd say things like, you don't have to buy a house if you don't need one, or you can just sell stock. Cause I know you were good at buying stock, but you were scared
Oh
of
yeah.
selling it. And you're
That's
like,
one thing I'm like,
oh.
I can drop money on stocks like nobody's business. I'm like, here's my money, take my money. But when it comes to, and I'm gonna bring this up, this is from one of the sessions that we had, and what changed my mind was literally Charly saying, yeah, I use the my investment account to buy Carol G tickets. And I was like, what? Carol, like you're using your investment account to buy Carol G tickets. Like that was so mind
Yep.
blowing to me because my mindset for my personal investment account was I can't touch that because I was treating it as my Roth thing, and I was like, that's something I'm
Mm,
gonna touch until my, after retirement. And so
mhm.
just knowing that all that money that was there was basically another savings account, but just way better, way better because
Mhm.
you're getting a higher return depending on the stock market, of course. But then it's another egg basket and another safety net. And one thing about me, I'm like, and I will always have my safety nets. And I think that's what allowed me to even save in the first place is the to diverse my money and different places and creating those safety nets. So all Charlie had to say was I used this money to buy Carol G tickets, and I was like, you got me there. I was so mind blown. I was like, you're telling me I can like this is money I can just pay vacations or go to a concert. So that got me there. And I think it was really the simple things in our sessions. It was definitely like a whole therapy session. Charlie had me questioning myself, and like we can talk about the mathin that we did.
Oh,
um I
yes.
don't know if you want
Yeah,
to
let's
talk
talk
about a
about
little bit
that.
more. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I want to say it on your end and see, because that was definitely a moment in our session.
Yeah, like you had, yeah, basically 5 6 figures just in cash in the wrong places and like Bank of America accounts. So we quickly dumped frickin' Bank of America. And I remember you were kind of like commingling finances with your parents, which is super common
Yeah,
for first gens. But then you're like, no, this is your money, this is my money, and like separating it lovingly to give them autonomy and give yourself autonomy as well, which is important, for everybody to just be autonomous and have their own money. Because when you mix stuff up, it gets complicated and
yeah,
stressful. And then we moved your money to the high yield savings account. And then we started, yeah, maxing out the 401k, Roth 401k, making sure that Roth IRA was invested in the right things. And then I remember you realized you had double the money you thought you did, because I'm so big on centralizing your shit in one place. Like I show you my accounts. That's a big feature of my coaching is I'm very transparent and I walk you through how I organize all my accounts. And when I log in, you see everything in one place, my investments, retirement savings, credit cards as well too. So I'm just used to like, yes, you should absolutely be able to log in and see all your money in one place, but it's very common for people to have money all over the place. And I also feel like it's because people don't want to seem greedy and feel like Dr. Evil being like, haha, I'm logging in and seeing all my net worth. And it's like, no, I can log in and see my net worth and I'm not an evil person.
yeah,
But I remember yeah, we were plugging the numbers and calculating the future growth too, because the thing with investing that is really, it's hard for a lot of first gens to dump 7K in their retirement and everything, because
y'all don't know how much your money
Really
can
is.
grow in a short amount of time. Like, you think a high yield savings pays you a lot with 4%, but if you invest in the right funds, your shit can triple. If you have 10K, it can triple to 30K in like 5 years. If you have 100K, 300K. If you have a mil, 3 million. But
Mhm.
you were, I was like, oh, let's plug into a calculator to see when your money will grow to 1 million, since you basically have double the net worth that you thought you did, because I was like adding everything all over the place.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm nervous. I was like, why? It's just investmentcalculator.net. Like, I'll do
You're
it
like, it's
for you.
just summing up numbers. It's like you're not even dividing anything.
Yeah.
It's just summing.
Yeah, and in just a few years, you're going to reach the millionaire level, which you're not even 30 yet, which is so cool to think about that. Yeah, you're not even freaking 30 years old, and you'll be a millionaire in just a few years because of all your hard work. Like, your past self got you to the place where you're saving fuck tons in cash, but also at this level, when you decided to work with me, and okay, all this cash I've saved can grow even more, which
Yeah.
is true. And so I think that was the whole, uh, and I was like, the math is mathing, Michelle.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like dead on staring into the camera in our meeting, and I swear, maybe Charlie was like, "Is she breathing?" And I was like, "Yes, like I am." I could not believe it. And it was just a moment, like, and Charlie did a great, like, just job, just kind of, I think as the eldest always like someone holding your hand, it's something different, and especially someone telling you, like, I'm proud of you, and that just makes a huge difference because sometimes we're so conditioned to go, 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 go because we have to. And that's a
Yeah.
big thing. It's like the have to, it's an obligation. Like going to college, getting the job, the big girl job. And then getting the house or all those things, it's like a you need to, but it's really like, no, I don't need to. And again, I think again that all comes with the growth and therapy. So y'all, like, therapy is very essential also to your financial growth. It just goes hand in hand. But yeah, Charlie did a great job, kind of fostering that perspective and a different mindset of, well, this is how we're going to grow, but in a different mindset with, leading with love and compassion, but also like, and being that cheerleader for their client. And I think, as like I can say from experience, like personal, as the eldest, like, I'm always the cheerleader for everyone else, and I love cheer, like, and I love doing it. It makes a difference. If sometimes a lot of us, unfortunately, we don't get I'm proud of you, and we're busting ourselves through education and, um, even our finances to kind of get somewhere. But that made a whole difference, and I was like, it sinked in, of course, after. It's like, yeah, you've been doing this great work, and for Charlie to, like, you're basically going to hit your million, like, not so soon, and you're not even 30. And that's something that I thought was an obligation. Like, I thought I was behind, honestly.
Mhm.
I was, and Charlie's like, no, no, you're not. So it was a moment of like, you know, you got this. And so that made me even more excited, and also kind of one of the reasons I want to continue sharing my story, because I think before, and I think Charlie also kind of, it was like only like 3 to 6 months, and the growth, that Charlie saw within just those, it was a big growth too. So
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I like how we talked about how uh, you didn't have to buy a house. So, what was that decision? How did you go from maybe I should buy a house to I'm good?
yeah, I think one decision, and another reason why, um, I started working with you, Charlie, was you are a traveler, Charlie. So you've been, all over different parts of the world. And when I met you, you were just coming from Mexico. You were living out there in Mexico. And that for me is one goal, that I personally have, is to eventually venture out for like maybe a year or two and really immerse myself and like la cultura mexicana. So I'm also a folklorico teacher, so I teach folklorico. So I want to continue learning more and then eventually be even more of an example or a better educator in the folklorico world. That's like on my extra time, pero really immerse myself in my own cultura. There's so many parts of Mexico that are beautiful, and then that me as a Mexican American, Chicana, like I don't know so much of my culture. Like I need to immerse myself, and so that's definitely something as part of my goal in my life. And but sometimes we're just stuck. I'm like, my job is really good right now, but I'm like, do I want to do this my whole life? I also have like adventure spirits that I found that I have, and I love going.
Sagittarius.
It's Sagittarius, yeah, definitely. So I love adventure, and so that's one goal for me. And I think that's what we were comparing that. It's like, hey, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? And I was like, honestly, I see myself venturing out to Mexico and just exploring mi cultura over there. And so I was like, if I'm in a house, I'm tied down to this mortgage. So then why don't I will probably need money once I move to Mexico. Like, again, that's the goal. So I think it's looking into the future and looking really sitting. I really like imagining where I'm at, and it's like I'm sitting in the house, but I'm like, is that giving me any joy? And that's even before I'm like buying or anything. And I was like, but my plan is to be in Mexico, venturing out for 1 year. Then I'm gonna need that money there if I'm gonna be working the hours that I'm working here. And so that made that decision even more easier of like, what do I really want? And I'm like, I want to be eating mole in Oaxaca. That's what I want.
The source.
Yeah. I was
The
like,
black
quiero.
mole, all 5 colors.
Yeah. Like
Not
I
the
think,
Doña Maria from the box.
yeah. And I was like, that's what I want to, I want mole de Oaxaca. So the option was like, okay, then maybe no house. And then Charlie's like, okay, well, now you made a decision, then let's invest as much as we can on your investment. Then that can pay your mole over there, you know? So it was really kind of digesting where I wanted to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and we did the math. We plugged the numbers with the calculators, and we were like, "Yeah, you're fine. Your rent is low as well, too." So we just did a calculation. You're like, "Yeah, I'm okay paying $900 in rent with a roommate," which is important because you are having a roommate is a good way to be frugal, because the biggest expense that everybody has that's getting worse and worse and will continue to get worse is housing. So the fact that you have that low of a rent and a roommate and a dog basically that wasn't yours but was yours,
I'm literally living the dream of my life, and it all aligned. It's still crazy to me how everything aligned. So if anyone's ever scared to just make the jump, and if you really feel it in a gut, just do it. Just do it. You have nothing to lose. Yeah, because for me, I think things happen for a reason, and a lot of things ever since I moved here have aligned. And one of those alignments, I always tell Charlie, like, you were part of the alignment. I've met really wonderful people. And I'm only getting started. So that's even the most exciting part of it.
Yeah, and I remember you went on your trip to Mexico while we were working together.
Yeah,
you
were coaching me. We were still not even done with the coaching when I went to Mexico.
Yeah, and I got you to break up with those crappy credit cards and get the Chase cards.
Yes.
So you went to the airport lounge for the first time with your bolsa de coca.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one thing. We're like, okay, I was literally on the timeline. We were in the mid of our sessions. I was even when I went to Mexico, so I did a trip to Mexico back in November, and we got that Chase Reserve card, and I was so happy I did, because of course I got into the lounge, but that was amazing. But one thing in Mexico, when I was like swiping that card, I was also we were in the centro where you buy la comida, and then the lady was like, "Esta no es de aquí, like la tarjeta, because it's like pretty heavy." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right, no es de aquí." Like, that was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, "Yeah, that's right, it no es de aquí." Like, she's like, "Esta está muy pesada." That
It's
was
that
funny.
metal shit that you don't
Yeah,
know what to do with. If you cancel the card, you're like, this can't go through the paper shredder. What do
yeah,
I do with this? Just got to scratch out the
exactly.
chip.
So yeah, so it was definitely like a day before flying back home. I was sipping into like Coca-Cola en una bolsa, Mexico style, and the next day I was literally on the lounge. I was in lounge going back home, and I think that also kind of in my mind made a whole perspective of like having a card. Of course, you're getting the points and things, but leveling up to the card as well allow me to go through TSA, um, because I applied right before. I think everything just got back on time for me to get accepted for the pre-check and
Oh,
TSA.
for the
So that
pre-check and global
which
entry.
comes with the card. So I was
Mhm.
I was telling her like my new card is like my little magic wand. I'm just using it. Everyone's swiping it, especially in like
Ooh, I love that.
internationally, because you're not getting any fees. Um, since I traveled to Mexico. And then I just recently got back from, it's been a week now. I got back from almost a 3 week trip to Italy. So I was swiping that baby everywhere. And it's just peace of mind knowing that you're not going to be charged and having to be in the lounge. I was in the lounge in Frankfurt, Germany, while I was waiting for my sisters there. And so that was amazing. And learning about credit cards. And I was like, yep, we need to like devote, right? We were all singing that song when we were talking about credit cards. Um,
Yeah.
tienes que votar. You have to votar esos like old cards that are not giving you what you're worth. It's like, that X that you just gotta get rid of. You gotta upgrade, baby. You gotta upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. Has it been worth the annual fee,
Oh
would you
yeah, I
say?
think yeah, because I'm getting the miles, I'm getting the points. It definitely pays for itself, and which is something that I was scared of doing. I was like, that's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I even got my sister who was telling me like, are you sure that's a lot of money? She got herself one too. And she was
Yeah,
using
I
that,
guess.
and she was using that card all over Italy. So
Dang. Pew, pew, pew. Called
yeah,
out. Yeah, because that card has the high annual fee. For those of you who have a 720 credit score and are still paying for stuff with your debit cards or free credit cards, like it's time to level up and get the reserve card. But it has that $500, 550 annual fee, which seems scary, which I think is dumb anyway. They should just call it 250 because you get the $300 travel
mm-hmm.
credit. But unfortunately, I feel like that scares a lot of people away because they're like, why would you pay money for a credit card? Because people associate credit cards with debt anyway and a money suck, but not if you pay the card off on time in full.
Yeah.
These credit card companies don't like people like us because we pay it off in full and they don't make money from the annual fees. They make money off the interest payments.
Yeah.
So
And
reparations.
we're actually in return, we're making money because of all the points and then the rewards for flights. So now
Yeah.
I do travel back home. I will be traveling back home in a few weeks. And so all those points just goes to basically free flights back home. So now I get to see my family uh, more
Mhm.
times throughout the year. So it all works out. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's my magic wand.
Yes, I love that. And I like seeing one of my clients, I was getting them into the Chase card too. And I was telling them about the lounges, and they were like, are the lounges like speakeasies? I'm like, oh, yes, yes. You just knock, enter, they scan your boarding pass and the code, and you have
Yeah.
bottomless drinks. Or for hotties with chronic illness, bottomless non-alcoholic
Oh
beverages.
yeah.
I can't fuck with alcohol. The hangovers are not worth it anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm with
Uh,
my orange juice. Like, I don't know, but I still get nervous when they check you in, but I'm like, I'm getting in my orange juice or all mocktail. Really nice. Yeah.
I'm shameless. I take my snacks to go. I'm like, I'm taking this apple. I'm taking these M&Ms. Like
Oh
y'all are
yeah.
fine.
Definitely. And then the ones in Europe are better, just saying too.
Oh, yes. The ones in the US suck. Ghetto. Surprise. Like once you leave, everything is better. Like the lounges in Thailand, they give you free massages on your shoulders for 15 minutes. Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
that sounds
vibe.
so good.
GTFO. And speaking of that, I wanted to talk about a post that I loved you make about Italy. So I'm just going to read it. It's on your Instagram, Health to Wealth con Michelle. It says, y'all, dreams do come true. Just getting back from a sister's trip to Italy. Nothing screams wealth building and working towards financial freedom than being able to take a full Italy trip from Venice all the way down to the Amalfi Coast and Sicily, being able to treat your sisters to meals and drinks, yet not worrying about money after the trip because you have reserves to pay for all the expenses since you set up a fund for yourself. No need to worry about, will I have money to pay for rent, food once I'm back, because emergency fund is set for 6 to 9 months. I love how you spell this out. Dreams don't just come true. You make them come true by focusing on what is important. And that for me is spending time and money with my loved ones and sharing beautiful experiences. This is why financial literacy is so important. Mi gente, I hope that you too can make your dreams come true. Oh, I feel like I just did a live book reading
Live book
for
read,
New
yeah.
York Times bestseller.
And I'm like, I'm getting teary because it was really like a dream come true. There's nothing more special than sharing. I went to Europe last year for my first time with my roommate, but this year me tocó ir con mis hermanas. That's something that we've been planning, but of course, like you are being amazed by the views and all these great things, but like for me, one of the days in the trip, we were in Sorrento, and just me looking to the right, we're at the beach, like sipping on white wine from Italy, and then there's like the Mediterranean, and there's the Mount Vesuvius, the volcano.
The Pompeii volcano.
Yeah, the one that took over Pompeii. We did go to Pompeii too. That was amazing. But looking to my right and then having my sisters, like their eyes gleaming and in joy of them seeing the view, and that was like, it was a dream come true. And us in the Trevi Fountain having our Lizzie McGuire moment. It was just a special moment, and I was like, you know what? And I think in that moment, I've been still reflecting on it. I think in that moment, it's where, for me, I'm like, this is what freedom feels like. It was like an overwhelming feeling. I was like, if there was a picture or a moment, I was like, this is what freedom feels like. And it was such a moment of, there's just so many emotions of like gratitude and self-appreciation at that moment. Like looking at this view and just relaxing. The fact is like it all came back. There's so many emotions tied to it, but very special ones of like, I really made my way down to Italy with my sisters, being financially fine and good. It's such like, it's a big deal, especially in my community. Like I might be one of the first ones in my generations to do this. Entonces, it was just like it hit me hard, but in a good way of like self-appreciation. Like it was like a celebration, a graduation for me at that moment. I was like, I really did this all on my own. Like no one helped me, and I really made my dreams come true. And I'm sharing it with the most special people who are my sisters. And I'm like, next time, parents, you're coming with me too. But it was that moment of like, and a lot of times what we did with Charly's in their coaching, something very special that I love. Charly would always ask at the beginning of every session, what are you celebrating? And that for me at the beginning was really kind of random, and I was like, okay, we'll see how this works. But it's like celebrating. I was like, I'm just gonna get boba and things. But I think that's very important too, and that's something that you're bringing, Charly, in every session. It's asking the question, what are you celebrating today, even if it's a little thing. Like we're so used to of the go, and like I said earlier, we're doing things, but we have to do things because we just have to survive. But it's like, no, let's celebrate every single milestone. Just waking up, that's one thing. So that for me, the Italy trip was a milestone. It was like celebrating life and freedom, especially as a woman, and a woman coming from like a generation where I never saw women in my family being dependent because they depended on a spouse. And so that for me was like a like mind-blowing moment, and it was amazing. And especially being a woman now, where we are in time right now, it's like I say, times are crazy, and having that was a like I'm gonna say it was a big like I did it moment for me to be like, I went through this system that put so many barriers for me, being Latina, being a woman, and then being the first gen. I had all of these disadvantages, and that moment was like, I really just went over all this. Yeah, like I went over all those barriers that were placed for me not to experience this, and I did. So that was definitely, I was like, this was a dream come true. And I think coming back, of course, I could have stayed in Italy more. Like, I wish I could have, but it gave me that, like, I need to come back and with Health to Wealth Co. Michelle, continue sharing those stories, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. Like, I was that eldest, and there's got to be another Michelle there that wants that guidance, and hopefully by sharing the tips, everyone else can make those dreams come true. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I obviously wanted to share with everyone too, because it was such a lovely moment that I would wish everyone in this world hopefully had that chance. And unfortunately not everyone has the chance of feeling what, like, I felt like a free woman at that point. I was like, this is the ultimate, like, what freedom. And this is where I'm like, this is made me understand, like, this is what financial freedom tastes like. And I'm like, if once you already have a taste of it, you're like, I'm gonna want more, like those sweet treats from Italy. I'm like, I need to have more sweets. So kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about before we hit record. So many sweets that are good quality. Like, as people with chronic health, we have health issues. We have to be very careful with what we eat, especially in America. But it has been nice since we're in Europe at the same time. I'm out here month 2 out of my 3 months out here, and it has been nice to eat like more bread and food than I thought I could in the States, like desserts. Yesterday, I had like a pistachio macaroon, a piece of chocolate that they gave me for free. They were like, it's a present. I was like, oh my God, thank you, universe. I will have this.
Oh my God. Yeah, please enjoy them as much as you can while you're in Europe. Like, that's one thing I miss. I'm like craving my sweets in the morning. I don't eat sweets again for my chronic illness, but me dejé llevar in Italy.
See, déjate llevar. Yeah. So I'm just super happy for you and proud of you, and that you're already reaping the rewards of all the money, your hard-earned money you save, but that is, your investments are growing and growing while you're sitting on that beach in Sorrento with your sisters. They're growing in your sleep. They're going to keep growing and growing, and you're going to be truly financially independent soon and retire early. Like, you've collapsed your timeline to retirement, which is super exciting, and you're just getting started. And I love that you're already getting a taste of it too. And like you say, it's important to celebrate. That's a big feature of my coaching is, we start every session off celebrating, because as overachievers, we're always used to doing the mostest all the time. So it does feel different when it's like, oh, let's pause and be grateful and celebrate, which I've had to do that too. Out here, I definitely have my perfectionist moments of getting down on myself of, oh, why do I keep planning my next destination at the last minute? Or why am I not making more money in my business? And that's why I released the last podcast episode I just dropped before this one, about that it's normal to grieve in your wealth building process. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows and glorious moments. And I think more people should know that you will be sad. It will be hard. And it is scary to build wealth, because you're constantly letting go past versions of you that got you here.
It really is. And I think that's such a great point. It, like I said earlier, has not been easy. Like, I literally removed myself from my family moving here. My family was my everything, and it's still my everything. But it has been hard, like not having them. But at the same time, it's like those moments. Like now, I get to appreciate those moments with my sisters and my family even more because it's not a luxury that I have. But then I'm like, I know, but it's also my big why. I know that if I continue building wealth, then I will get to spend more time with my parents when they need me the most. And that's something I'm currently seeing them go through with my grandparents. It's like where they're getting older and they don't have the time because they have to work and they don't have the time to spend with their parents. And so for me, that's a big why. To continue things. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but things are worth it. And like you gotta celebrate. You gotta celebrate life as it comes. And like I said, I've been having an amazing time here in Washington, been part of community and just work. And I think the nature helps a lot too. I like spending
It's
a lot of
grounding.
time. It's so
Yeah,
grounding.
it's
Yeah.
soothing. I was very in my serene joy, Fern Gully, nature,
Yeah,
hippie
and I love that
vibe
for
when I was
you.
there.
Yeah. I love that you came back for a bit, especially I think you needed it too and you're in your body and your system. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. I definitely needed the healing vibes there and being around chosen
yeah.
family. And
Yeah.
yeah, I miss you and everybody there, but I can always come back. We'll see what's next
Yeah.
in the cards. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'm so happy we got to work together and meet you in person and go to the symphony and eat amazing Thai
Yeah.
food. And congrats also on getting your yoga certification. I see you diversifying your income streams.
Yeah. It's like I love yoga, but hey, you have to diversify too. Yeah, I'm super excited. I've been doing yoga for a while, and again, it has been for my healing and just getting my nervous system to calm down, especially with chronic illness and anxiety. So I'm hoping to. That's like it's a new chapter for me. This was pretty recent. I got my certification, and again, like everything, like I said, everything kind of goes with health to wealth, and I think that's why it was such a great name for it. Like I remember, I was like, I know eventually I'm gonna do something to kind of share my story. I'm like maybe, but I'm like no, like my voice doesn't matter, or like who am I to tell my story? And having Charly and other amazing people in this community that I've built over the years, especially kind of removing myself and living out here in Washington, has allowed me to kind of foster really great friendships and people who are actually cheering for you to do that. So I'm so glad that and excited also for Health to Wealth and for me to show all the different parts of me. Like I said, I'm a dancer. I teach folklorico, like I already teach that, and having just another way of movement. Movement has always been very important for me, and throughout my life, and also really just moving the toxins in your body for us with chronic illness and anybody. Like we need to move that energy somewhere, and we need to sweat it out. And so yoga has been another avenue, but also a financial one. It's like that's like a side hustle. It's like I'm like once you get into this whole like financial groove and things, everything's just gonna be like, hey, health. It's gonna help you kind of navigate life better, but also, hey, this can be my my side hustle. And of course, I take big pride for where I come from and taking this to a level where I can connect with other Latinas. The one thing going into the yoga certification was thinking, like, I don't think I've ever taken a yoga class from another Latina, and I had not realized that. And I was like, now, I was like, that's a huge thing. Like, I can be that Latina yoga teacher in my community, and I can offer in Spanish to people who look maybe like our parents or tias who would never step into a yoga studio because it's not, the look. And I think also mystifying that in yoga, because yoga has, I was like, it came from brown people. Like,
yeah, and it's been co-opted. So it's time to reclaim it.
Exactly. And it's like, so I'm really excited for that new chapter for myself and to, over the years, see how it grows and then, but use it for my community. And I think that's one of the important things of why financial literacy is so important. And because as Latinas, or even it's a Latino community, we have so much knowledge, but we just kind of resource ourselves back, and we have so much to share. And once we realize that we're capable of doing things, and we just maybe just need to push, we can do such a difference in this world, which is what we need right now. And kind of people like Charly, they did it. They're like, I'm gonna, get away from my job, open my own business, and help people. And then Charly, I guess, at this point would be part of like me creating this dream come true. So again, this is kind of this is like a proof. Charly is a testimony and proof of also, wanting to help your people, wanting to see others thrive who look like you because they can. And Charly's doing it, and doing it from different parts of the world. So, and still living their best life. Like, how amazing is that? Like, everyone should, get into their finances, getting to know them a little bit. It's not as scary, especially if you have a coach to hold your hand, because a lot of us, unfortunately, we don't have that hand to hold on. And so getting that coach and making things happen.
Yes, so we can twerk our way to early retirement.
We can,
we're not trying to work forever.
And yes.
And downward dog.
Downward dog.
As long as you move your ass.
Exactly, yes. Moving is so important. You gotta be moving. You gotta be moving your money. I think my new motto now is pray, love, eat, and invest. Like, you definitely needed all those. That's what I'm going to go
That's an interesting order. You're like, still change the order.
Yeah.
I'm just like, eat, and invest. That's my life.
Eat.
All I do is eat and walk and invest.
I love
That's really what you do in Europe. You just like eat and walk, but it's just so much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has been awesome. Congrats on your first podcast episode.
Thank you.
Pew, pew. We popped that cherry.
I know, this is my first episode I'm so honored to be here, and for you to invite me over and share a little piece of me, and hopefully I can continue sharing more with the world. But thank you, Charly, for everything that you do, and I love that you're just living your best life while helping others also live their best lives. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You're an inspiration to everybody. And yeah, don't ever say that your voice isn't needed. We need people's, like, your voice more than
we
ever.
Don't say that anymore here.
Not anymore. Please, dear God. Yes. All right, love. This is amazing. And I know so many people will benefit. And where can folks find you again?
Yeah, so stay tuned for Michelle, Health to Wealth from Michelle. There will be news. I will be dropping a vlog by the end of summer, so stay tuned there, and we'll get some stuff out. I can't wait to continue to connect with everyone else. But yeah, you can just find me in Health to Wealth Gone Michelle on IG.
Yes, and the first and only Latina yoga instructor in the Pacific, the White Axe Pacific Northwest. Hit her up. All right, bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening and dropping into today's episode. If you want to connect with me and work one-on-one on your money goals, I invite you to book a call to learn more about how I can help you with my money coaching program. I work with folks one-on-one, long-term, so that you can twerk your way to early retirement. I also want to invite you, if you haven't yet, to join my Unicorn Millionaire newsletter. I love dropping money gems through my newsletter right to your inbox, and I share my latest updates and invites to my free personal finance classes. What is better than that? And getting them from an MB who is queer and can't stop, won't stop talking about that Roth IRA freak life. So get that juicy goodness at the link in the show notes, and don't forget to visit my blog, unicornmillionaire.com, and come twerk along with me on Instagram at Traveler Charly. That's Traveler Charly with a Y, because that's how they spell it down in Mexico. The information contained in the Unicorn Millionaire podcast is provided for general informational use only. Your purchase, download, and use of this material does not constitute a client relationship. The views expressed by the Unicorn Millionaire podcast hosts and guests are not intended to constitute accountant, legal, tax, certified financial planner, stock advisor, or other professional advice. Users of this podcast material should not act upon this information. Users of this podcast material should do their own due diligence by independently verifying all information, products, and services mentioned with their own qualified professionals before making any decisions. We assume no responsibility for information contained in the Unicorn Millionaire podcast and disclaim all liability with respect to errors, inaccuracies, omissions, misleading, or defamatory statements. Users of this podcast accept and understand the terms of the disclaimer.